My girlfriend said, "My friends don't like you, so we need to break up." I replied, "Good, then you can join them." The way they all stared at her after I left told me everything. So my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend now I guess, just ended our 2-year relationship because her friends don't like me. And the worst part, I think I've been okay with that for months without realizing it. Here's the background. I'm Noah. I work in cybersecurity incident response for a fintech company in San Francisco. Pretty standard tech bro stuff. I analyze security breaches, respond to incidents, write reports. I'm generally a calm person. I don't do drama, I think things through, and I prefer quiet nights over loud bars. That's going to be important later. My now ex is Katie. She's a content producer for this increasingly popular podcast called Unapologetically Her. When we started dating 2 years ago, she was different. We'd go to indie shows, hole-in-the-wall cafes, quiet hikes in Marin. She was thoughtful, introspective, really present. We moved in together about 8 months ago and things were good. Or so I thought. The shift started when the podcast really took off. The host, Regina, is one of those charismatic thought leader types. She's smart, engaging, has this way of making everything she says sound profound. The podcast is all about modern dating, feminism, boundaries, toxic relationships, that kind of content. And as it got more popular, I noticed Katie starting to. I don't know how to describe it. Rebrand herself. She got more dramatic, started having stronger opinions about things she used to be neutral on, began talking in these podcast-friendly sound bites. That should have been my first clue. The friend group is tight. There's Regina, the host, Brooke, the editor, Tara works in HR somewhere, and a rotating cast of other women who all live in the Mission or Soma. They're constantly talking about red flags, boundaries, toxic energy. Which, look, I'm all for healthy boundaries. But when every conversation starts sounding like a therapy session mixed with a TED Talk, it gets exhausting. I first met them all at a live podcast recording about 6 months ago. Katie wanted me there for support. The episode was about dating in your 30s or something. After the show, Regina came up to chat. She asked what I do, and when I mentioned cybersecurity, she literally made a face and said, "So you're like corporate surveillance but in a hoodie." The whole group laughed. I tried to laugh it off, but it stung. That night, they all went to this after-party at a bar in the Mission. The whole time, they were doing this thing where they'd tell stories about terrible men they dated or heard about, and I'd try to contribute to the conversation, offer some perspective. Every time I spoke, I'd get these looks, like I was the subject being studied, not part of the group. On the drive home, Katie said, "The girls think you're emotionally unavailable. They said you don't share enough." I was confused because I'd literally spent an hour that night talking about my childhood, my relationship with my parents, work stress. But apparently because I wasn't crying or being vulnerable in the exact way they expected, I was closed off. That became a pattern. Any small disagreement Katie and I had, and I mean small, like should we get Indian or Thai food, would somehow make it onto the podcast. Katie would bring it up to the group, they'd dissect it, and then I'd hear about it third hand through passive-aggressive comments. Regina started calling me data guy on the show, using me as an example of men who try to micromanage your calendar, because I'd suggested we plan a trip in advance instead of last minute. It didn't feel like a relationship anymore. It felt like a case study I hadn't consented to be in. Here's where it gets worse. I'm not a big party person. I don't love crowded bars where you can't hear yourself think, and I'm not into these performative hangouts where everyone's half engaged and half scrolling Instagram. I suggested to Katie a few times that maybe we could do smaller things, dinner parties, game nights, hiking with 1 or 2 couples. She'd agree, but then the friend group would find out and I'd become the controlling boyfriend who was isolating her. Every time I didn't go to one of their events, it would come up on the podcast. If your partner skips girls' nights, that's a red flag. They never said my name, but Katie would come home and be weird with me, like she was apologizing to them on my behalf. I tried to play along. I really did. I brought board games to one of their hangouts. Everyone was on their phones, half playing, half scrolling TikTok. When I pointed out we should maybe put phones away to actually play, Brooke laughed and said, "This feels like a workshop, not fun." The whole group agreed. I was trying too hard, so I was in this impossible position. If I stayed quiet and just existed in the background, I was distant and emotionally unavailable. If I tried to engage or suggest activities, I was controlling or trying too hard. There was no way to win. A few weeks ago, Katie came home a little tipsy from one of their wine nights. She was scrolling through her phone, laughing at messages. I asked what was funny and she said, "Oh, Regina's just doing her thing." Then she said something that made my stomach drop. She says your word choice in texts is low-key manipulative. I stopped. "How does Regina know what I text you?" Katie got this look, half guilty, half defensive. She admitted that Regina had been analyzing our text conversations, not just reading them but breaking them down, pulling out specific phrases I'd used, sharing them in the group chat. Apparently they'd even played my voice messages on speaker to analyze my tone. I'm in cybersecurity. I take privacy seriously. The idea that my private conversations were being dissected by a group of people I barely knew made me feel violated. But when I said that, Katie got defensive. "They're just trying to help me see patterns. You're being paranoid." I let it go because I didn't want to fight, but I couldn't shake the feeling. A few days later, Katie left her iPad at home while she went to work. A notification popped up. I wasn't snooping, it was just there on the screen. It was from their group chat. The preview said, "Clip 3, him saying we can do our own thing tonight," classic isolation phrase. Clip 3. They weren't just judging me. They were collecting evidence for a story they'd already decided to tell. I didn't say anything to Katie that day. I needed to think. Part of me wondered if I was overreacting. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how insane it was. My girlfriend's friends were treating our relationship like a research project, and she was letting them. Last night, Katie asked me to meet her at this rooftop bar near where they record the podcast. I knew something was coming. She had that look, the one she gets when she's rehearsed something. We sat down. She ordered a drink. Then she said it, "My friends don't like you. They think you're limiting me. I can't ignore that. We need to break up." I felt this weird calm wash over me. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I looked at her and said, "Good. Then you can join them." I stood up, paid for both our drinks at the bar, walked over to the table where Regina, Brooke, and Tara were sitting, because of course they were there, probably recording the whole thing, said, "Nice knowing you all," and left. As I was walking out, I glanced back. The three of them were staring at Katie with these expressions I can't quite describe. Not satisfaction, not happiness, something closer to shock, maybe even discomfort. Like they'd pushed a button expecting one thing and got something else entirely. Katie looked small sitting there, and for the first time in months, her friends weren't smiling. I've been at my buddy's place since last night. I keep replaying it in my head. The relationship was probably over the moment Katie started valuing their opinions more than her own instincts. But still, part of me wonders if I should have fought harder. Another part of me feels relieved it's done. Has anyone else dealt with something like this, where your partner's friends basically run the relationship? I don't even know what I'm asking. I just needed to write this out. Update 1. Posted 2 weeks later. Okay, so I didn't expect to post again, but some stuff has happened that I think people following this might want to know about. Also, I need to process it somewhere because this has gotten weird. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. The validation helped more than I expected. A lot of you were right about the recording thing being sketchy, and it turns out it was even worse than I thought. So about a week after the breakup, I was at work trying to focus on a security incident, and my coworker Jamie came over to my desk. She's 28, super into podcasts, always has earbuds in. She looked uncomfortable and said, "Dude, I need to ask you something weird. Are you the data guy on Unapologetically Her?" My brain buffered for a second. "What?" She pulled out her phone and played me a clip from their latest episode. It was titled something like "When Soft Control Becomes Hard Boundaries" or some buzzword soup like that. And there it was, Regina talking about a case study of a man who used subtle isolation tactics to control his girlfriend. She didn't use my name, but she used exact phrases I'd said, word for word, but completely stripped of context, edited to sound sinister. The comments section was full of people diagnosing me. Textbook covert narcissist. My ex did this exact thing. They were tearing apart a version of me that didn't exist. I felt sick. Jamie looked at me and said, "If that's you, you need to know they're butchering you." I thanked her and told her I'd handle it. I didn't know how to handle it. I'm not a lawsuit guy. I just wanted it to stop. That night I couldn't sleep, so I downloaded the episode and took screenshots of the transcript and comments, just in case. I don't know what I thought I'd do with them, but it felt important to document. 2 days later, I got a DM on Instagram from Brooke, the editor, the one who was always just nodding along with whatever Regina said. The message started with, "I'm sorry, I think you should see this." She sent me screenshots, a lot of them. The first was from their internal Slack, the podcast team's private workspace. I could see messages from months ago. Regina wrote, "We need a controlling man archetype for next season. Makes the content relatable." Someone replied asking if they had anyone in mind. Regina responded, "Katie's boyfriend is perfect, quiet, overthinks, doesn't push back, we can spin that." There was more. A Google Drive folder titled Noah Examples. I felt my hands start shaking. The folder had a list of voice messages I'd sent Katie, casual stuff. "Can we have a quiet night, just us? If you're tired, I can pick you up." Next to each one there were notes. Brooke had written on one, "He sounds normal here." Regina's reply, "Context, Brooke, it's about pattern. They were building a case against me like I was a suspect." Brooke sent a follow-up message, "I've been uncomfortable with this for a while. You weren't the first." She explained that Regina has been doing this for years. Every guy Katie dated before me got the same treatment, recorded, analyzed, turned into content. Regina would find the villain angle and run with it. The podcast thrived on real-life drama, and Katie's dating life was the fuel. I didn't know what to say. I just sent back, "Why are you telling me this now?" She replied, "Because it finally caught up to them." Apparently, after they released the episode about me, the comments section split. Some people believed Regina completely, but others, people who knew me indirectly or just had better bullshit detectors, started questioning the narrative. "This guy sounds pretty normal. Are we sure we're getting the full story?" A few people pointed out that the podcast never interviewed the men they talked about, which was a pretty big red flag for a show that claimed to be about accountability. One of the podcast's corporate sponsors saw the episode and the comments. They got nervous. If this was defamation, the sponsor could be liable too. They contacted the media company that produces the podcast and asked for an internal review. The review happened fast. HR dug into how the content was sourced. They found the Drive folder. They found the Slack messages. They found evidence that the team had been recording people, not just me, but other men in the extended friend group without their knowledge and using it for content. That's illegal in California, like seriously illegal. Katie got called into HR. She wasn't the host, but she was directly involved. She'd been feeding her relationship to the show. They gave her an option: resign voluntarily or be terminated for cause. She took the mutual separation. Regina got suspended pending further investigation. The sponsor pulled funding. The podcast went on hiatus, citing restructuring. Brooke told me all of this over a series of messages. She sounded genuinely remorseful. She said she'd been uncomfortable for months but didn't speak up because Regina was her boss and the podcast was her job. She was afraid of being cut out, becoming the next target. I get it, I guess. Doesn't make it right, but I get it. I sat with that information for a few days. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. This whole thing, Katie, the friend group, the podcast, it wasn't a relationship. It was content farming. They turned real people into characters, real conversations into episodes, and when the characters stopped being useful, they got written out. I haven't heard from Katie directly. Part of me wonders if she's okay. Another part of me thinks she made her choice when she let her friends dictate our relationship. Either way, I'm not reaching out. I did respond to Brooke. I told her I appreciated her coming forward, even if it was late. She said she's looking for other work. Regina's reputation in the SF media scene is tanking, and Brooke doesn't want to go down with the ship. Someone in the comments on my original post said, "The trash took itself out." I didn't fully believe it then. I think I do now. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I'm going to sue. Honest answer, I don't know. I talked to a lawyer friend who said I probably have a case for invasion of privacy, maybe defamation if I could prove damages. But litigation is expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining. Right now, I just want to move on. The podcast is dead in the water anyway. That feels like enough. Update 2. I wasn't planning on posting again, but the last few weeks have been a lot. So here we are. Buckle up because this gets messier before it gets better. About 2 weeks ago, I got a text from Katie. Just, "Can we talk? I owe you an apology. Coffee." I didn't respond right away. Part of me wanted closure, another part thought it was a terrible idea. I did agree eventually. We met at this cafe in Hayes Valley that we used to go to back when things were good. She looked rough, tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. We sat down, and before I could even say anything, she started, "I'm so sorry. I need you to know that." She told me she'd been going to therapy. She'd been forced to confront a lot of stuff, about herself, about Regina, about how she'd let her entire sense of reality get filtered through other people's opinions. She said when the podcast fell apart and she lost her job, she didn't just lose income. She lost her identity. The friend group fractured. No one was talking to Regina. Brooke and Tara were distant. The whole ecosystem that had defined Katie's life for years just collapsed. She admitted that at first she'd been happy with me, really happy, but Regina kept saying things like, "He's dulling your edge, and you're more interesting when you're angry." Every time Katie would tell a story about us having a nice, quiet weekend, Regina would find a way to reframe it as a warning sign. That's isolation. That's control. And because Regina was so confident, so articulate, Katie started believing it. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots Brooke had sent me. Katie's face went pale. She said Regina had told her they were just taking notes for the show, nothing invasive. She had no idea there was a full folder dedicated to breaking me down. There was this long silence. Then she said, "I didn't lose you because of who you are. I lost you because I needed an audience more than I needed a partner." It hit me then how sad the whole thing was. Katie wasn't a villain. She was just someone who got so caught up in validation from the podcast, from Regina, from the online audience that she forgot how to trust her own judgment. I told her I appreciated the apology but that we couldn't go back. Too much had happened. She nodded. She'd expected that. We finished our coffee and parted ways. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. Then about a week ago, I got another message from Brooke. This time the message just said, "You need to see this. I don't even know what to say." She sent me screenshots again, but these were different, much different. When Regina was forced out of the podcast, the parent media company did a full audit of her work accounts before wiping them. It cloned her laptop to make sure there wasn't any other legally questionable content. And they found something. A folder buried deep in her personal files labeled Letters. Inside that folder were dozens of documents. Letters, journal entries, notes, all written by Regina to Katie, except Katie had never seen them. They were drafts, confessions, things Regina had written but never sent. And the contents were, honestly, I don't even know how to describe it. One of the early letters, dated 7 years ago, right around when Regina and Katie first became close, said, "I've been in love with you since junior year. I know you don't see me that way, and I've made peace with it. But I need you to know that no man will ever understand you the way I do." There were more. Years of letters. In one, Regina outlined how she'd subtly undermined Katie's previous relationships. She'd take something a boyfriend said, twist it just enough, and then present it to Katie as a red flag. She'd manufactured drama for the podcast, sure, but it wasn't just about content. It was about keeping Katie single, keeping Katie close. The one about me was the worst. Regina wrote, "He's the most dangerous one. She's too calm around him. She laughs without performing. She doesn't feel the need to be on when they're together. If I don't do something, she'll leave. Not just me. She'll leave the show, the life we built, everything. I can't let that happen." So that's what this was. It wasn't about protecting Katie from toxic men. It was about protecting Regina's access to Katie. Every boyfriend, every relationship, Regina saw them as threats. And she used the podcast, the friend group, the whole social justice framework as a weapon to eliminate those threats. She dressed up obsession and control as concern and feminism. Brooke forwarded all of this to Katie, and Katie, to her credit, confronted Regina directly. I wasn't there, but Brooke told me what went down. Katie showed up at Regina's apartment and demanded an explanation. Regina initially tried to play it off as creative writing, like it was fiction or a podcast idea she'd never used. Katie pulled up one of the letters on her phone and read it out loud. "If I have to burn every bridge to keep her, I will." Regina broke down. She admitted it, all of it. She said she loved Katie and had for years. She said she couldn't help it, that every time Katie got serious with someone, it felt like losing her. Katie left. She called Brooke, Tara, and the others and told them everything. The friend group imploded. None of them had known Regina was in love with Katie. When they realized they'd been weaponized, used as tools to isolate Katie from any real relationship, most of them couldn't deal with it. Brooke and Tara tried to stay close to Katie at first, but even that was strained. Too much damage, too much betrayal. Within a couple of weeks, everyone had just kind of drifted apart. So now Katie's lost me, her job, and her entire friend group. And she's having to confront the fact that for almost a decade, her closest friend was manipulating her, sabotaging her relationships, and using a progressive, feminist podcast as cover. It's honestly one of the bleakest things I've ever heard. I haven't talked to Katie directly since the cafe meeting, and I don't plan to. I feel bad for her, I really do, but I also can't fix this. She has to figure out who she is without Regina's voice in her head. That's not my job. As for me, I'm doing okay. I moved to a different apartment closer to where I work. I'm hiking more, spending time with actual friends who don't analyze my word choice like I'm a suspect in a crime. I even went on a date last weekend. Nothing serious, just coffee. But it felt good to talk to someone who didn't have an agenda. I keep thinking about that night at the rooftop bar when Katie said her friends didn't like me. At the time, it felt like a betrayal. Now I see it differently. Her friends didn't like me because I was pulling her away from the narrative they needed. I wasn't a bad boyfriend. I was just bad for their content. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Edit. Holy shit, the response to this update. A few clarifications. Yes, Regina's behavior is absolutely stalker-level obsessive. Some of you suggested Katie should get a restraining order. I don't know if she has, but I hope she's protecting herself. To the people asking if I'll ever talk to Katie again, probably not. I wish her well, but we're done. Final update. Hey everyone. It's been almost 9 months since my first post. I honestly thought my last update would be the end of this, but some things have happened recently, and a few of you have been messaging me asking if I'm still alive. Yes, so here's where things are now. I'll try to keep this shorter than the others. First, the big news. About 3 weeks ago, I got an email from Katie. Subject line, no need to respond, just needed to say this. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. It was long, really long. She told me she'd left San Francisco entirely. She moved to Portland about 5 months ago, is working freelance social media for small local businesses, nothing big, nothing public-facing. She said she's been in therapy twice a week and cut off all contact with Regina. Completely. Blocked on everything. The restraining order came after Regina completely spiraled. After Katie confronted her about the letters, Regina started showing up places. At Katie's apartment building at 2 a.m., at the coffee shop where Katie did her freelance work. She sent hundreds of texts from different numbers after being blocked. The breaking point was when Regina drove 6 hours to Katie's parents' house in Sacramento, showed up crying, saying she just needed to make Katie understand. They were meant to be together. Katie's dad had to physically block the door while her mom called the police. The restraining order was granted immediately given the documented pattern of escalation, though the email was mostly her taking accountability. She said she'd spent months in therapy dissecting how she let Regina control her perception of reality, how she'd outsourced her decision-making to a group of people who didn't actually have her best interests at heart. She admitted that when we were together, she'd been happy, genuinely happy, but she kept questioning it because Regina told her happiness without struggle wasn't authentic. The part that got me was when she wrote, "You were never controlling, you were never emotionally unavailable, but I let someone else narrate our relationship for me and I'm so sorry. I failed you. You deserve better than that." She said she wasn't asking me to forgive her or to respond. She just needed me to know she understood finally what she'd done. I read it twice. Then I showed it to Alina. "Oh, right, Alina. That's the other big update. About 4 months ago, I met someone. Her name's Alina, she's a product designer, lives in my building. We kept running into each other in the gym, awkward head nods, polite hey s. One day she asked if I wanted to grab coffee after a workout and I said yes. No expectations, just coffee. We've been dating for 3 months now. It's been, I don't know how to describe it, easy. She has friends, a full life, hobbies, but none of it involves turning her personal life into content. When I told her in very vague terms about what happened with Katie, she just said, "That sounds exhausting. I'm here now. Let's build something that's just ours." We cook together. We go hiking. We have movie nights where we actually watch the movie instead of scrolling phones. I know that sounds boring to some people, but after everything that happened, boring feels like a gift. I'm not walking on eggshells wondering if something I say will end up dissected in a group chat. I'm not being graded on my emotional availability. I'm just existing, with someone who likes me as I am. Last weekend, we drove down to Big Sur for the weekend. No agenda, no itinerary, just us and the ocean. Alina took a photo of me on the cliffs and said, "You look different than when we first met, lighter." I realized she was right. I do feel lighter. I didn't notice the weight I'd been carrying until it was gone. As for the Katie email, I did respond eventually. I kept it short. "Thank you for this. I'm glad you're in a better place. I wish you well." That was it. I didn't reopen the door, didn't invite further conversation. Alina read it before I sent it and just nodded. Sounds like she's finally in a place where she can face herself. That's good for her. I haven't heard back. I don't expect to. That chapter's closed. So what happened to everyone else? Brooke messaged me a few months ago. She found a new job editing for a true crime podcast, completely unrelated to the lifestyle dating space. She said she's done with that world. Regina tried to relaunch the podcast under a new name, but it didn't gain traction. Word got around about what happened. Sponsors won't touch her. Last I heard, she'd moved back to her hometown somewhere in the Midwest. The original podcast, Unapologetically Her, is just dead. The website's still up but hasn't been updated in almost a year. The social media accounts went silent. It's like it never existed. I've thought a lot about what that whole experience taught me. I used to think I was being judged for who I was, too boring, too calm, too unavailable. But the reality is, I was being judged for not fitting into their story. I wasn't dramatic enough, reactive enough, damaged enough to be good content. And when I didn't play the role they'd cast me in, they tried to force me into it. Here's the thing, though. The qualities they labeled as problems, being calm, thinking before reacting, preferring depth over performance, those are the things that make my relationship with Alina work. She doesn't need me to be a character. She doesn't need our fights to have narrative arcs. She just needs me to show up and be present. I'm in a good place now. Better than good. I found someone who values privacy, authenticity, and building something real instead of performing something shareable. I don't need validation from Reddit or anywhere else. I just needed to write this last bit down, close the loop, and move forward. Thanks for following along, everyone. I'm logging off this throwaway for good. Take care of yourselves. I, 29, male, caught my girlfriend, 26, female, cheating using my smart home system. The revenge was automated. Dylan's in Phoenix playing IT hero until Friday. He built this whole smart home fortress and literally told me he never checks the cameras because he trusts me too much. We have free run of the place. His house is basically mine anyway. We can do whatever we want and he'll never know we were even here. That's what I watched my girlfriend mouth to another man on my security camera feed while I was sitting in a hotel room 800 miles away. She was betting everything on my trust. Bad bet. This is going to be long, so grab some coffee. I'm Dylan, 29, working as a DevOps security engineer in San Jose. My girlfriend Riley, 26, is a personal trainer at one of those boutique gyms where memberships cost more than my car payment. We've been together for a year and a half, and she's been basically living at my place for the past 8 months. Things were good, or at least I thought they were. Here's where my job becomes relevant. I'm obsessed with automation and security. My house is basically a smart home showroom. I've got cameras in the living room, kitchen, and hallway. Smart locks on every door. Google Home integrated with Sonos speakers throughout the house. Motion sensors, the whole 9 yards. Everything's controlled through apps on my phone and laptop. Riley used to joke that I loved my smart home more than her. Guess the joke's on me now. Now, you're probably wondering why she'd cheat in a house full of cameras. Here's the thing, about 6 months ago, Riley got uncomfortable with the cameras. Said it felt like living in a surveillance state. We had a whole conversation about it one night, and I told her, "Look, I never check the feeds unless there's an alert. I'm not watching you, babe. The cameras are for break-ins, not for spying on my girlfriend." She seemed relieved. Said she appreciated that I respected her privacy. Last Tuesday, I had to fly to Phoenix for a 3-day business trip. Riley was weirdly interested in the details. When was my flight? What time was I checking into the hotel? Which room number? Was I really going or just saying that? I thought she was being cute and clingy. Looking back, my stomach turns. Tuesday night, I was in my hotel room in Phoenix, exhausted from the flight and initial client meetings. Around 10 p.m., I get a notification on my phone. Security system, manual shutdown detected. That's weird. Riley knows not to mess with the security system. I open the app to check what's going on, and the cameras are showing offline status, all of them. I have admin access though, so I remotely reboot the system. Takes about 30 seconds. The feeds come back online. That's when I saw them. Riley was on my couch, with a guy. Some dude I'd never seen before, looked like every gym bro stereotype you can imagine. High fade haircut, tank top showing off his arms, the works. They were drinking wine from my wine rack, laughing, getting close. Then they kissed. I'm not exaggerating when I say time stopped. I just stared at my phone screen, watching this happen in real time. Part of me wanted to call her immediately, scream, break something, but the engineer in me kicked in. I took screenshots, started recording, backed everything up to 3 different cloud services. I didn't sleep that night. Just watched them on my couch until around 1 a.m. when they finally left. She locked up my house and left with him. Wednesday, she texted me good morning like nothing happened, asked how Phoenix was. I played along. That night I watched again. He came back. This time they were more comfortable. Ordered pizza using my DoorDash account. Watched Netflix on my TV. At one point, they were literally eating pizza off plates I bought, sitting where I sit, acting like they owned the place. I saved everything, every frame, every timestamp. She thought she'd turned off the cameras. She didn't know that even if she managed to shut them down, I get an alert, and I can override everything from admin access. Thursday morning, I told Riley my flight was delayed due to weather. Said I wouldn't be back until Friday afternoon. She sent back sad emojis. Said she missed me. Here's the thing, I wasn't delayed. I changed my flight to come back Thursday afternoon instead. Booked a hotel room 15 minutes from my house. Because Thursday night I was going to teach both of them a lesson about smart home security. I'll post an update soon about what happened. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. I'm reading every comment. For those asking about the camera legality, yes, they're legal. It's my house. Cameras are in common areas with no expectation of privacy. And California is a 2-party consent state for audio, but I don't record audio on these cameras. I'm covered. Update 1. Okay, deep breath. This is going to sound insane, but I swear every word is true. So Thursday evening, I was in my hotel room with my laptop open. I'd got feeds from all my cameras pulled up. I could see my entire house layout, every door lock, every light switch, every speaker, all controllable from where I was sitting. Around 8 p.m., Riley texted me, "Miss you baby, can't wait for you to come home tomorrow." I replied, "Miss you too, flight's definitely tomorrow afternoon, just confirmed." 8:47 p.m., I watched her unlock my front door. She was wearing one of those gym outfit sets, hair done up nice, carrying a grocery bag. 8:52 p.m., tank top guy arrived. I'd later find out his name is Mark. He's 27, also works at a gym. Real winner, he was carrying flowers. My girlfriend got flowers from another man in my house. They cooked together in my kitchen. Steaks on my cast iron pan. They were laughing, touching, completely comfortable with each other. This wasn't new for them. They had done this before. 9:15 p.m. they moved to the living room, lit some candles, put on music, started kissing on my couch. 9:30 p.m. I decided it was time. Phase 1, I killed all the lights. Every single light in the house went dark simultaneously. I was watching their reactions on the cameras, which have night vision. Riley jumped up. Mark looked around confused. I heard Riley say something, but I didn't have audio. I could just see her mouth moving, probably asking what happened. They tried the light switches. Nothing worked. I had disabled them all through the app. Phase 2, music. I pulled up my Sonos app and selected every speaker in the house. I chose a song I'd queued up earlier specifically for this moment, a cover of Better Without You by some indie artist. I set the volume to 100%. The music slammed on. I could see them both physically recoil from the sound. Riley's hands went to her ears. Mark was looking around like he was trying to figure out where it was coming from, because it was coming from everywhere. Kitchen, living room, hallway, bathroom, every speaker at maximum volume. Through the camera, I could see Riley shouting something. Her face was panicked. Mark was standing now, looking genuinely scared. Phase 3, lockdown. I activated the security lockdown mode I'd programmed for actual emergencies. Every smart lock in the house engaged. Front door, back door, garage door, all of them locked simultaneously, and the status lights turned red. I watched Riley run to the front door and try to open it. The handle wouldn't turn. She was pulling on it, clearly panicking now. Mark tried the back door, same thing. He tried the garage, nothing. They were trapped in my house with lights off and music blaring, and they had no idea what was happening. Phase 4, the voice. This is where I might have gone too far, but I was committed. I have Google Home integration set up for voice announcements. I'd pre-recorded a text-to-speech message. I triggered it. Through every speaker over the music, a robotic voice announced, "Security alert. Unauthorized mail detected in residence. Emergency lockdown initiated. Police have been notified." I did not actually call the police, but they didn't know that. Mark completely lost it. I watched him run from room to room trying doors and windows. The windows weren't smart locked, obviously, but he was in full panic mode. Riley was standing in the living room, mascara running down her face, screaming at the ceiling. Then Mark made the decision that I will treasure forever. He picked up a chair from my dining room and threw it through my living room window. The glass shattered. My security system, the actual monitored one, not my prank, immediately triggered. The alarm started wailing, which I hadn't even planned for, but it added to the chaos beautifully. Mark climbed through the broken window and jumped into my front yard. He landed in my rose bushes, stumbled, got up, and ran down the street. Just straight up abandoned Riley and fled the scene like his ass was on fire. I sat in my hotel room staring at the camera feed. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. The adrenaline was insane. Riley was still inside, standing in the middle of my living room, mascara running down her face, looking around at the chaos. The broken window, the chair on the floor, glass everywhere. She was crying, hyperventilating. I turned off the music. The sudden silence must be deafening for her. I turned the lights back on. She squinted at the sudden brightness. I unlocked all the doors. She stood there shaking, looking at the broken window. Then she pulled out her phone and called me. My phone rang in my hand. Her name on the screen. I stared at it. Let it ring. I didn't answer. I sat there for another few minutes, watching her on the feed. She was pacing now, calling me again and again. My phone kept buzzing with her calls. I silenced it. Then my security company called. Someone had reported my alarm. I told them it was a system malfunction. I'd handle it. They noted it and hung up. I closed my laptop, checked out of the hotel, got in my car. It's a 20-minute drive back to my house. I need to stop typing and actually go home now. I'll update after I get there and we talk. Or don't talk, I don't know yet. Edit. Yes, I have all the footage saved, triple backed up, cloud storage, external drive, and a copy I emailed to myself. For everyone asking about the legality, I did not illegally detain anyone. The windows were always unlocked. Mark chose to break my window rather than calmly opening it. That's on him. Update 2. It's been a week since the incident. I've had time to process, talk to some people, and deal with the fallout. Buckle up. So I pulled into my driveway around 11 p.m. Riley's car was still there. All the lights were on. I could see her through the window, pacing in the living room. I walked in through the garage. She was sitting on the floor now, hugging her knees, mascara streaked down her face. When she heard me come in, she jumped up. "Dylan, oh my God, thank God you're here." She rushed toward me like she was about to hug me. I stepped back. She stopped. What just happened?" Her voice was shaking. "The house went crazy. The lights, the music, everything locked. I couldn't." "Where's Mark?" I asked, my voice flat. She blinked. "Who?" "The guy who just jumped through my window." That was." She was stuttering, trying to come up with something. "That was my friend's brother. He was just Riley." I pulled out my phone. "Stop." She looked at my phone, then at me. "Dylan, the house had some kind of malfunction. I don't know what." I turned my phone screen toward her. It was showing the camera feed. Live, clear as day. Her face on my screen, standing in my living room from the camera mounted on the wall behind her. She stared at the screen, then at the camera, then back at the screen. "I turned those off," she whispered. "You tried to turn them off," I corrected her. "Tuesday night at 9:52 p.m. You shut down the system through the app. I got an alert. I rebooted it remotely with admin access 30 seconds later. I've been watching you since then." The color drained from her face. "You've been watching. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, tonight." I swiped through my phone, pulling up saved footage. "Here's Tuesday. Here's you and Mark drinking my wine. Here's Wednesday, ordering pizza on my DoorDash. Here's tonight. I have everything saved." I showed her a clip from an hour ago, her and Mark on the couch, the kiss. And the lights, the music, the locks. Her voice was barely audible now. "That was me, remote access, all of it." I pocketed my phone. "I've been in a hotel 15 minutes away this whole time, watching everything on my laptop." She just stood there, frozen. I could see her brain trying to process this. "Oh my God," she finally said, and her legs seemed to give out. She sat back down on the floor hard. Then she went into full breakdown mode, crying, hyperventilating, the works. Started with "I can explain," which is such a cliche I almost laughed. Almost. I stayed calm. I didn't yell, didn't get angry, just stayed ice cold. She tried several approaches. First, she claimed it just happened this week. I pulled up timestamps showing they had been meeting at my place for at least 6 weeks based on my camera archives. She went quiet. Then she blamed stress. "Her job is hard. I'm always working." She felt lonely. I reminded her that feeling lonely doesn't mean you bring another man into your boyfriend's house. Then she tried to blame Mark. Said he pursued her, wouldn't take no for an answer. She didn't know how to stop it. I showed her footage of her unlocking my door for him with the code I gave her for emergencies. She stopped talking. Finally, she just cried and said she was sorry over and over. I gave her 45 minutes to pack her essentials. Told her I'd box up the rest and she could arrange pickup. She begged me to reconsider. Said she loved me. Said she'd do anything. I told her she needed to leave. Now, she packed a bag, crying the whole time. When she was done, she stood at my door and asked if there was any chance we could work through this. I said, "You brought another man into my home. You ate my food, used my things, and disrespected everything we built together. No, there's no working through this." She left around 11 p.m. I changed all my smart lock codes immediately. Changed my Wi-Fi password. Changed my security system codes. Factory reset my Google Homes and reconnected them. I'm not taking chances. Around midnight, my neighbor Steve knocked on my door. Older guy, retired, lives 2 houses down. He'd heard the music and commotion and actually did call the cops earlier, but they didn't show up since my security company confirmed false alarm. He wanted to make sure I was okay. I explained that my smart home system malfunctioned while I was out of town and my girlfriend panicked. He seemed to buy it. Didn't mention seeing her leave with suitcases an hour ago, which I appreciated. Friday morning, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey man, this is Mark. Riley gave me your number a while back in case of emergency. I wanted to apologize. I didn't know the full situation. I thought you two were basically broken up. She told me you were barely together anymore. I'm really sorry. Also, I think I dropped my wallet in your yard when I left. Can I come get it?" I was reading this text at my window repair appointment and I literally laughed out loud. The audacity. I texted back, "Your wallet is on my front porch. I put it in a bag with your credit cards and ID. You have 2 hours to pick it up before I drop it at the police station for found property, with a note about how it was discovered near my broken window." He picked it up within 30 minutes. Didn't knock, just grabbed the bag and left. Riley texted me constantly, called from different numbers when I block her. Showed up at my house twice. I didn't answer the door and told her through the Ring doorbell to leave or I'd call the cops for trespassing. She emailed me a long letter about how she'd made a mistake, how she wanted to go to couples therapy, how I'm the love of her life. I didn't respond. By Wednesday, a week after the incident, things quiet down. I was working from home, getting my house back in order, trying to move on. Then yesterday, something interesting happened. I got a Facebook message request from someone named Jessica, no mutual friends. Profile picture showed a woman around my age. The message said, "Hi Dylan, I know this is weird, but I need to talk to you about Mark and Riley. Please message me back when you can." I'm posting one more update after I talk to this Jessica person, because apparently this story has one more chapter. Edit window is fixed, cost me $380. I have Mark's real name and info from his wallet before I gave it back, considering small claims court. Final update, it's been almost 3 months since the smart home incident. A lot has happened. Grab a drink because this conclusion is wild. First, let me catch you up on what happened with Jessica. We met for coffee 2 days after she contacted me. Turns out, Jessica is Mark's ex-girlfriend. Well, was his girlfriend until about 5 weeks ago. Here's where my brain exploded. Jessica and Mark had been together for 2 years. She'd noticed him being distant, secretive with his phone, going out more often. Classic signs. Then one day, she was scrolling Instagram and saw Riley's profile in Mark's recently searched. She didn't think much of it until she noticed he'd been liking all her posts, commenting flirty stuff. Jessica confronted him. He denied everything. Said Riley was just a client at the gym where he worked, that he was being friendly for professional reasons. Jessica let it go but kept watching. Then, a week before my smart home revenge, Jessica was looking for a charger in Mark's car and found a receipt from a wine shop. Expensive bottle. Mark doesn't drink wine. She asked him about it. He said he bought it for his mom's birthday. His mom's birthday was 4 months ago. That's when she started really digging. Found texts between Mark and Riley going back months. Flirty stuff at first, then explicit. Plans to meet up when he's out of town, meaning me. Riley had been coordinating with Mark around my travel schedule. Jessica confronted Mark with the texts. He admitted to everything. Said it had been going on for 5 months, not 6 weeks like I thought. They broke up immediately. Now here's the part that made me buy Jessica's coffee and a piece of cake. Apparently, after the window incident, Mark came back to their shared apartment. He'd been staying with his brother since the breakup to get some stuff. His hand was bandaged from the glass. Jessica asked what happened. Mark, in his infinite wisdom, told her the truth. The whole truth. About sneaking around with Riley, about being at my house, about my smart home revenge, about jumping through the window in panic. Jessica said she laughed so hard she cried. Then she told me the real reason she wanted to meet. She'd been documenting everything. Screenshots, dates, times. She noticed that several of Mark's business trip explanations to her lined up with times I'd posted on LinkedIn about being in the office. Meaning Mark was lying to Jessica to see Riley while I was home, and Riley was lying to me about late gym shifts when she was actually with Mark. Jessica had created an entire timeline. She showed it to me on her laptop. It was color-coded. This woman had made a spreadsheet of our partner's affair with cross-referenced dates and locations. "I wanted you to know," she said, "that Riley wasn't some innocent girl who made a mistake. She was actively coordinating this, and I wanted to thank you because your camera footage timestamps helped me confirm the last 3 weeks of their affair. Mark tried to gaslight me about when it started. Your data proved he was lying. We talked for 2 hours, compared notes, filled in gaps. It was weirdly therapeutic. Before we left, Jessica said, 'By the way, Mark's terrified of smart homes now. He made me promise to never get any smart devices if we ever lived together. I told him we're never living together again, but I enjoyed watching him squirm.' So what's happened since then? Riley kept trying to contact me for about 6 weeks. Texts, emails, showing up at my work once. I had to get HR involved after that. She finally stopped mid-October. I heard through a mutual friend that the story spread at her gym. Apparently Mark told someone who told someone, and now everyone at that boutique gym knows Riley as the girl whose boyfriend remotely locked her cheating ass in his house. She quit 3 weeks ago. I don't know where she's working now and I don't care. Mark apparently still has a scar on his hand from the window glass. According to Jessica, we stayed in touch. She's actually pretty cool. He tells people he got it doing parkour. Sure, buddy. As for me, I've made some changes. I upgraded my security system, added more cameras, better locks, and yes, I kept the smart home setup. Because I like it, it's useful, and it saved me from wasting more time on someone who didn't respect me. Here's the unexpected part. I started a YouTube channel about smart home security and automation. Nothing about Riley or Mark specifically, but general tutorials, product reviews, security tips. I posted one video titled, "How I Use Smart Home Devices for Security Real Talk," where I vaguely mentioned discovering an intrusion via cameras without giving details. That video hit 2.3 million views. My channel now has 180K subscribers. I've gotten sponsorship offers. It's bizarre and amazing. I had my first date last week. Met her at a coffee shop, actually, same one where I met Jessica. Her name's Ava, she's a software engineer, and when I told her I have a YouTube channel about smart home tech, she thought it was cool. We're getting dinner next Friday. Riley sent me one final email 2 weeks ago. No subject line, it just said, "I know you'll never forgive me, but I need you to know I really did love you. I'm sorry for everything." I didn't respond. There's nothing to say. This morning I woke up in my condo, made coffee with my smart coffee maker on a schedule I programmed, and checked my YouTube analytics. My latest video about smart lock systems got 50K views overnight. My home is secure, my data is backed up, my locks are changed, and I'm finally moving forward. Thanks for following this journey, Reddit. You guys helped me stay sane through the worst of it. I'm doing good now. Actually good. Edit. For everyone asking, yes, Jessica and I are friends now. No, we're not dating. We bonded over shared trauma, but we're not interested in each other that way. She's actually seeing someone new too, and she seems happy. The YouTube channel is doing well enough that I'm considering making it a side business. Never thought I'd monetize getting cheated on, but here we are.